Yeah.
Okay, welcome everybody to Kent Freedom Movement's presentation from Chris Everard. It's good to see so many people here tonight and a lot of new faces. That's great. I'm sure you're in for a bit of a treat here. We've got Chris Everard, one of the world's most knowledgeable researchers and filmmakers into the global elite and also otherworldly things like the spirit world, and he's done many great films about the Illuminati and spirit world and secret space. And he's got his own TV channel, enigmatv.com as well. So we're in for a wealth of knowledge tonight, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce Chris Everard.
Hello everybody. Well, this is sort of, not the most perfect place to do a talk, but, it's a real place with a real crowd. We've got a real football match going on in the background. I've travelled like over 1,000 miles to come here. I'm doing another talk like this in another pub very similar to this in Bristol. That's on the 17th. And then basically for the next year I'm doing a world tour of all these different countries. I'm doing Egypt and Australia, I'm doing the USA, doing Spain, Portugal, Greece, France, and then I'll be back in the UK in a year's time. Like Chris said, I run the Enigma channel, which is it's actually the world's first global TV station. It was started 11 years ago, and the reason I started the TV channel is because what I wanted to do is broadcast documentaries and movies about subjects which the mainstream media either ignore or they point blank refuse to cover certain subjects in the media. So since that time, 11 years ago, there's been 100,000 viewers, and I've been making feature-length documentaries, and the 12th feature-length documentary that I've made is come out this week, and we're back in France at the moment, packing and shipping all of these DVDs going all over the world, and people upload them onto video sharing websites, and there's 250 million viewings of my films on the internet right now. And there is an awakening. There's an awakening of people who are interested in more than just football. They're interested in more than just what is dished out to them in the mainstream media. And a lot of people, let's face it, what is it today? Monday, Tuesday? It's Tuesday night, we're in Gravesend, we're in a pub. There's lots and lots of things that you could have all been choosing to do, but you all chose to come here. And there are millions and millions and millions and millions of people worldwide who are like you, that have chosen to actually sort of unplug themselves from what the mainstream media dish up all of the time, and to get themselves informed about really what is going on in the world. And all I can say is that about 20 years ago, when I used to watch the TV, especially when I used to watch programs like Question Time on the BBC, I used to always wonder why certain questions weren't being asked, and why the answers weren't fulfilling my interest in what was going on in the geopolitical situation. And gradually, over the last 20 years, I've put together the entire jigsaw puzzle of how this geopolitical situation is organised. And the first thing I'd like to say is we need to recognise who actually controls the geopolitical situation. We need to actually understand that the economic situation that we see reported on the media, with this boom and bust cycle where one sort of set of years you get yuppies, where you buy a luxury flat and you get a free Porsche, and then several years later there's a recession. and then it goes into another cycle of yuppies, and then another cycle of recession. The economy is controlled, and all money supply, all cash, it doesn't matter what currency you're talking about, is all based on diamonds, platinum, silver, gold, rubies, emeralds, that was stolen from the Indian subcontinent and stolen from the African continent in the 18th and 19th centuries. In the wake of this asset stripping of India and Africa, two things happened. We ended up in Europe with the richest families that have ever walked the face of the planet, and at the same time we have famine, starvation, incredible medical problems, bad sanitation. That's the upshot of what the asset stripping did in the 19th century. So who are those people? Who asset stripped India? Who asset stripped Africa 200 years ago? The simple and true answer is it comes down to about 5 different families. They are not the families whose names you see mentioned in the most popular books about the so-called New World Order. They are families who basically they're royal, they're aristocratic, but they've used fake names to hide their identities throughout history. Sitting on the British throne at the moment we have what we call the Windsors. That's not their name. Windsor is a fake name which they've used as a cover story since the beginning of the 20th century. Their real name, the Queen's real name, is Saxe Coburg Gotha. And these are 3 towns which are in Bavaria in Germany. They're not British, their actual roots are in Bavaria in Germany, and they are the Bavarian British royal elite. And alongside them you have the Schleswig, Holstein, Glucksburg, Sondersburg family, and that's the real name of Prince Philip. He's not Greek, he's not Danish, he's German. And his real name is Philip Schleswig, Holstein, Glucksburg, Sondersburg. His name is not Mountbatten, and his name is not Battenberg. That is the name of his great uncle, Lord Louis Mountbatten, and Lord Louis Mountbatten said, as soon as Philip married Princess Elizabeth, who became Queen Elizabeth, Lord Louis Mountbatten said, hey, now you should change the family name and you should become the Windsor Mountbattens. And that was unacceptable, and therefore they killed him. And his boat being exploded in Ireland was blamed on the IRA. And I'm afraid this is a typical example of how the royal political elite work. What they will do is they will kill, stab, slash their way through history, taking anything they want, and blame the assassination on a so-called terrorist group. And if you question what I'm saying, then you should ask yourselves, why is it that we had the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, and the real IRA? The reason that the real IRA was started is because they were the real people who really wanted an Irish Republic, who had nothing to do with the terrorism that had gone before. And all across the world we see assassinations, murders, kidnappings being blamed on fake terrorists. And just recently we've had a thing in the news with Gareth Williams. Hands up who's heard about Gareth Williams. MI6 officer, also worked for GCHQ, a Welshman from Anglesey. He was found in a duffel bag, cut into pieces, in his bath, in his apartment, with SIM cards from his various mobile phones.